the Brand.bar Happy Hour chat. I'm Angela St. Julien, and I'm here today with Giuseppe Graziano. Giuseppe specializes in the acquisition of short liquid.com domain names and has successfully negotiated millions of dollars in domain transactions. He has worked with clients such as PokerStars and 888.com, and before founding GGRG.com, he worked as the Director of Business Development for Europe at Domain Holdings. Thanks for joining us today, Giuseppe.
Hey, thank you for having me here, Angela.
I'm really excited. Before we get into our discussion, about short and numeric domains, I want to first thank our sponsors who help make the program possible. Escrow.com is a licensed, insured, and government-audited escrow company that has served the online community, for over 15 years. They now offer API marketplace integration and express cart buy it now buttons. And I can tell you, personally, I've used them, and they're very easy to use. It's a simple HTML code that you copy and paste, or a link, actually. And I'd also like to thank NamesCon, the domain name industry event held in Las Vegas every January. If you're interested in networking with domain professionals and learning more about the domain name industry, you won't want to miss this conference. Go to namescon.com today to take advantage of their early registration discount rate of $3.99, which, if you guys don't know, is a 60% savings. So don't miss that. Okay.
I want to go there as well.
What'd you think?
I want to go.
Well, go over there and get your tickets while they're on like super discount right now.
All right, sounds good.
Okay, so let's jump into this. I always like to start, I guess, with an explanation. For anyone out there who's watching or listening who doesn't exactly know what a short liquid.com domain is, I'm hoping, Giuseppe, that you can give us the short and sweet explanation of that.
Okay, very short and sweet, and I think it's also going to be accurate. So it's everything that it's, up to 4letter.com, so anything that's like 2-letter, 3-letter, 4letter.com. And for numerics, it's everything that's like, up to 5numbers.com. So it's like 2-number, 3-number, 4-number, and 5 numbers. Now, there's also a few other like kind of hybrid categories that can be defined as liquid, and those are the one like the letternumber.com, let's say like p9.com, or anything that's like number letter, just like 9b.com. So those are what we consider as a broad range as like the liquid domain names. And this is because basically you can actually trade them for like a set amount of money. You can actually exchange it for liquid value.
Okay. That was very short and sweet. A really great explanation. So look, what makes these 3letter.coms valuable?
Well, it's because everybody wants it. I mean, like they've been like rising up in value so much, just because there's like a very, very big demand from China. And because there's, every time you have like something like a 2-letter or 3-letter, it's very likely that some large corporation might be interested in like buying the acronym. So basically what I've been seeing over like the past few years is that, the value, like the bottom price of like these domains have been like growing up in value. So, and they're very limited, they're very rare. So for example, like for 2-letter, they're only 676. For 3-letter, they're a little above like 17,000. 4-letter, it's 450, almost 500,000 domains. For 2 numbers, only 100. 3-number, like 1,000, and 4-number is about 100,000. So this is why like they're very rare, and that's why like there's like this very high demand and limited supply, which actually drives the prices up.
Okay. Now, what are they being used for? Are people actually branding their businesses with these short letter domains, or are they more like a collector's item? What exactly is happening with them?
Well, it's a little bit of both. So especially, as we said before, there's like many large corporations that, for example, if they use a true, like an acronym of true letter, they're very interested in buying like the trueletter.com domain. And actually, if we have a look at the list of all the 676 trueletter.com domain names, about 2/3 of them are actually used by companies, while like 1/3 is still like in investors' hands. So that's why they're very rare, and like that's why there's like a very limited supply. At the same time, for what concerns numerics, it's not very easy for like a business like in the US or in Europe to use like numeric to actually brand their company. But like in China, it's very common like for like both like companies and also like websites that displays like several things that to actually use the numeric domain for their business.
Okay. Now, how do you determine which letters are the best ones to buy? I mean, how do you know which ones are good or bad? Or are there any that are good or bad, I guess I should say?
So yes, I mean there's like let's say like two different school of thoughts, and the most prominent one is like the Chinese one, where they consider premium every letter except the vowels and the letter V. So everything that is not A, E, I, O, U, and the letter V, these are considered like bad letters. So the vowels, vowels, letter V. All the rest is considered premium. While if we take like the domain name by the book, as it was considered before, then we had like some other letters that were considered premium. And actually, I cannot remember by hand. I have a list in front of me. So the premium letters were considered everything that was A, B, C, D, E, F, G, H, E, L, M, N, O, P, R, S, T. Then the second tier letters is J, K, U, V, W, and the low quality letters are actually Q, X, Y, Z. But like nowadays, if we actually look closely like at the sales value, like how much this the free letter, for example, are selling for, most of domain investors are really following like especially because the demand is driven by China. Most of the domain investors actually are following more like the Chinese way of considering premium letters versus like non-premium letters.
Is there somewhere, now you just had a list or a chart or something that you use there.
Yeah.
Where can we find that? Because I think that we'd probably be less likely to remember them than you are. Is there a place we can go to find those letters, to find out which ones are the best?
You can probably find them in any forum, but like to keep things easier, like you just go to my website at ggrg.com, you just send me a contact request, and I will, absolutely send you the list or whatever chart. I love charts, so I have here like a whole chart with everything. But yeah.
You know what I'll try to do? I'll try to reach back with you, and I'll make a chart, and I'll see if I can post it on the wall here after the chat when I put the video up. So tell me, does the letters change, I guess, which ones are considered the best and the poorest according to language or culture? Does that have an effect on that?
Yeah, so we said that, for what concerns the letters, in China, like everything is considered premium except the vowels and letter V. And for the rest, it's like US and Europe, then there's some other letters. And it's just like based on the probability that like an end user will be interested in that. And this is quite interesting because, if these letters, they're very, contrasting, with the two theories. So before, like, X, and Z and Q were considered kind of bad letters, and for Chinese, these are great letters. So everything, if you have like a freeletter.com domain that has only those three letters, it's actually very valuable. And now that the floor price is around like 25,000. So this is very interesting. On the other hand, if the domains that were considered valuable because they were like somewhat pronounceable, then they do not have like the same value in US or Europe, in China, just because there's like the vowel inside.
Okay. So before we get to pricing, because I'm going to ask you about that, I want to, though, change the focus over to numerics for a little while.
Okay.
What makes a numeric domain valuable?
Okay, so if we look at actually the driving forces, it's still because there's like a huge demand from China. This is and they're very liquid. So it means that you can actually trade them like quite distantly for almost like if you want to sell it within a couple of weeks, you can actually exchange domain for like a set amount of money. So that made them for like Chinese people almost like a collectible items and like something that something where like almost like a virtual currency. So then there's, as we said, like they're extremely rare. We said that they're very limited, and basically, and the other thing is they're actually traceable. This is something that I always tell like it's one of the reasons why this both numeric domains and also free-letter like trueletter.com domains become so valuable, because it's very easy to identify what are like all the free number combination, and then actually run like a bulk quiz extraction and then mass email all the owners to try and figure out what is like the lowest price. So these actually had like a few effects, because the ones that at the lowest price, they actually disappeared from the market, because there was like all these investors actually actively looking and like emailing directly owners to buy like these numeric domains. So what happens is that the lowest price asset actually went out of the market, and whatever was left, it was actually at a higher level. And that continued until like the lower level was becoming higher and higher. And this is why we've seen like such a huge increase. Also, like another thing that actually, I believe it's one of the responsible, like the big increase in sales price. The first thing is that if you, let's say you own like a freenumber.com, I mean, normally you will receive like 5 to 10 inquiries per month, just by people like directly emailing you about buying your domain. And sometimes there will just be like a random email, like, they won't even say the name of the domain, say, oh, can you please sell me your domain? How much is it, like what is the price? And you can tell that it's actually like a mass email. Sometimes you actually get a direct offer. Mm-hmm. So if you're now a seller and you're in that position and you see that people are emailing you all the time to buy your domains, then of course you're gonna believe, okay, probably my domain is worth a lot. And the first thing, either like you're gonna, okay, let me try to figure out why it's getting so much attention, or you're just gonna hold off selling and say, look, I don't want to sell right now, I don't want to hear anything about it, and you just gonna let it out. Then there's still like a small niche that they're becoming fewer and fewer people that were actually okay in selling it, but those deals, they're not there anymore because of course they're gone. So this is one of the reasons, like being traceable, that helped a lot increasing like the overall value. And I think like another reason, I think it's like less, it's not probably less like less known reason. I believe it's because there's a bit of bias into which transactions are disclosed. Because most of the time, like we see like in the industry outlets, like in blogs, and we always see those huge transactions. Let's say 360.com was sold for, was like 16 or 17 million, like those huge sales. But most of the time, I mean, I would say like more than 80% of the time, like the transactions that happen with numerics are non-disclosed. And this is just because like both buyer and seller are Chinese. And they do not actually go to Ron Jackson, actually email him and say like, oh, look, we had this transaction, can you please publish it? So there are actually like a lot of sales, let's say for freenumber.com, that are very reasonable, not reasonable, but they're still like very amounts, but they're lower of what we believe. Yeah. So I had like this conversation a lot of times with buyers from like the US or Europe saying, oh, like I wish I could find a freenumber.com under 100K. I was like, look, there's plenty actually. There are, but you just don't see them. And actually like they price them like at the buy now price. So, I mean, it's really like all these factors combined together, they drove the price up so much.
So where can we get those? I mean, if they're out there and they're reasonably priced, where can we find them?
Okay, this is one of the secrets. No,
I mean, besides the secret.
No, besides contacting a few brokers, like probably the best places to find them, like at buy now prices, are all like the Chinese marketplaces. So if you see, let's say, I should not make advertising to other companies, but like if you take a look at Ford.cn or Yumi6issue.com, there's like plenty of actually marketplaces in China that have like buy now prices for numeric domains, and they can give you like a pretty good idea about like what the prices are.
Okay. So thanks for giving us that. I know what it cost you. So here's what I'm going to ask you now. Like, what are you kind of told me what it took to make a really good, I guess, 2, 3, or 4 letter domain. What are the ingredients? And I know I like to cook, so I say ingredients.
Okay.
What are the ingredients to making a really great numeric? Like, are there any type of rules, numbers that we should use, numbers that we definitely should stay away from, patterns? What do you have there?
First off, before I answer your question, I love that you said like the ingredients. It's like kind of like, you're putting together like, you're composing like a great domain.
Yeah.
This is something I always like recommend everyone in the industry. It's like numeric domains is not a primary, it's not a primary market. It's not something you register and then you try to sell. That's one of the most common way of losing money doing that. And I get emails all the time. It's like, oh, I just registered, or sometimes they say I bought, but you really registered. I bought this domain name. It's like 1367888.com. Should you think it has any value? It's like, no. Numeric domains is something, it's like a secondary market. All the domains, all the valuable domains are 99% of them are taken. So I always recommend this golden rule, which is if it's available for registration, probably it's worthless. So please stay away from new registration.
I
Now,
see.
taking this aside, and I actually it was I think a couple of weeks ago I published this guide about like numeric domains. And there's also this golden rule. So if you're curious, just go to ggig.com and you can find the full guide there. I wrote about like 12 rules about how to understand the value of numeric domain names. I'm not going to go over like the 12 rules. I'm just going to say like focus on these 3 ingredients. Okay. So the first one is length. So of course the shorter the better. So if it's a 2 number, obviously it's more valuable than a 3 number. If it's 3 number, it's more valuable than 4 number, and so on. The second thing I will look at is like the quality composition of the numbers. So as a general rule, we're just gonna see like 5 numbers. So 8 is the luckiest number in China because basically the number is pronounced in pinyin fa, which basically it's pronounced ba, which is almost like fa, which means prosperity. So it's considered very lucky. That increases the value of the domain. So this is the first thing you consider. On one hand there's like the 8. On the other hand there's 4, which is pronounced se in Mandarin, and se means death. So Chinese are very superstitious and they try to stay away from any domain that contains a 4. Now, they still have liquid value. It doesn't mean that you cannot sell them. Even like the largest marketplace is 4.cn, so they use 4. It doesn't mean but on average, in terms of like liquid domain names, it actually lowers the value of quite a bit. I would say like almost like 50% in terms of value from like a standard domain. So we see the 8, there's the 4. 0 is a very interesting number because if it's in the beginning of the domain, it actually lowers a bit the value of the domain. And if it's in the end, it actually increases the value of a little bit. And then there's like 6 and 9 that, after 8, they're probably like better numbers. So 8, 6 and 9 like makes better, 0 at the end. 0, then the ones that actually lower the value, 1 is like 0 in the beginning, and then the worst is 4.
Wow. So, but you said you probably could still sell some with 4 in it. Who's buying those? If 4 can mean death. Where do the 4s go?
No, I mean like the domains with the 4 they still sell. As I said, like you find them for like 50% of the value, but they still trade, and like Chinese still buy and sell them. It's just that on average you would see them like selling for like a lower amount.
Okay, so tell me, what about lucky number 7? I mean, I know here in the States, in America, 7 is like the lucky number. You mentioned several, but you didn't mention 7. Where does that stand in the lineup? Good, bad, just neutral, whatever?
I mean, like, at one point I was trying to make almost like a visual thing, like I thought about making an infographic, kind of like a pyramid of the numbers. I would say like 7 is just like an average number, like it's like 2, 5. It cannot be considered lucky, but it's not considered unlucky either. So I would just consider, like I say, a random number. Yeah, okay. I mean those 5 are really the one that actually drives the value up or down. Like 8, 4 on the two opposite ends. And in the beginning, like 0, that can be used like a little bit like to increase the value, lowers the value. And then 6 and 9, they're usually on average, they give a little bit more value. And then the other thing I will look at, it's always the patterns. This is extremely important. So every domain that follows specific pattern, usually it's much more valuable than a random free number combination. So for example, if you have a domain like free.com is extremely valuable. And it's much more valuable, I would say like more than 10 times than a random like free79.com. It's very, very valuable. It's not just like that sort of pattern. In this case, the free, it's considered like AAA, so it's like the same things over the same number for 3 times. There's also other patterns actually valuable. So for example, if it's free 9, it's also valuable. It's like an AAB pattern. Okay. If it's free 9 it's also valuable because it's an ABA pattern. And the same goes for like 4 number. So there's very valuable patterns. The most valuable one, it's always like the 4 repeated numbers. So for example, 4 free consecutive. Then the other valuable patterns, one is like the ABBA, for example, 2112. Then there is the couple, the pair numbers. So for example, a free99.com, those are also valuable. There is the ABAB pattern. This is getting a bit confusing way.
I think it's good. I think it's pretty clear what you're saying. The patterns are really more valuable, or what they would have more chance of success. I want to throw one at you, and I know I'm probably beating this board to death, but I just have to throw this one. What if it were a 4-number com, and let's say 4333, like you have 3 consecutive numbers after the 4, or maybe even 3 consecutive numbers and a 4 on the end?
Yeah, that's actually, yes, that's actually valuable. I mean, there's kind of almost like a ranking for patterns. So like we said, like in the first one, it's AAA, like that. Now it's talking specifically about like 4numbers.com. Then the second one, the one that are below are AABB. So for example, 4433 and ABBA 4334 and ABAB 4343.
Okay.
Then underneath those 3 number combinations. So for example, 4333 or 3334. Then see like a bit below like 4434 or just like the more there's like a specific pattern, the more it's valuable. Then like even below that there is the ABAC, for example. It's the domain where it's let's say it's 8283. That's like ABAC. Those are like a little bit more valuable than a random number combination.
Okay.
And then something else that's very important is that the sequence are extremely valuable as well. So every time like you see something that's like 1 2 3 4 or 3 4 5, those are extremely valuable.
Oh, those are good. Okay. So what about other extensions? Like I've seen, and I'm bringing this up because I've seen on a couple of the forums that I hang out at, some requests now for like letter.cc or number like 4number.net. Like, what about the extension? Tell me how that changes the value, or if it does at all.
Yeah, so I mean, in terms of like liquid domains, there's also like a few other extensions that are considered liquid and they have like a lower value of .com, but they're still like very in demand, especially in China. Mm-hmm. So besides .for.com, there's 3 other extensions. One is like .net, the other one is .cc, as you said, and the last one is .cn. Those are like the 3 main extensions besides like for .com. Mm-hmm. They're actually valuable.
Okay. Still, would it be 2 3 4 letter and 2 3 4 number?
Yeah, of course. Like the more like you go further, of course, like a TrueNumber.net, then yes, it's valuable. Then when you see like a 4number.net, it's not very valuable. And if it's valuable, it's probably like in the 3 digits.
Okay. All right. So let's talk pricing. How do we
Okay.
establish these floor prices for the 2, 3, 4 letter comms?
Research, like a lot of research.
But
Every
I
morning
think you
when
were
you
saying
go.
there's comparables in this, so it's easier to do. Where
Yes.
can I find, like, say if I wanted to do this research and I wanted to find some comparables so that I can make a, where can I find that? Or is that another trade secret?
That's a very good question. And I think a lot of you, mostly they're like three factors that we'll consider. And two, I think are available to everyone. One is like the disclosed sales, especially the recent one. So I will look at like, actually every morning when I wake up and like, go to the office and have coffee, like I check what like domain is sold and I can get the idea about like how much these domains are selling for. So one is like recent sale, so recent comparable sales. The other one is like domains priced with a certain like buy it now price. So, and then those we said, you can probably the best source is like to actually check the Chinese marketplaces. And the third one is really something that, you get those information if you're a broker or if you actually own some two-letter, three-letter, two-number, three-number, where actually you see directly the inquiries that you get and you see already like what are the offers that you get every week for certain, and they always flatten around like one specific number and you kind of know what is like the floor price. So all these three factors combined together, they kind of give me an idea about what is like the floor price for these assets.
Okay. Same with the numerics?
Exactly the same with numerics.
Well,
And
that
numerics actually like a little bit, even like a little bit easier because like for three letter, and two letter, you see a lot more like noise in the level of transaction just because there's a lot more like in user sales. So like for three number or four number, it's very unlikely that there's like an end user cell. So
okay.
it's actually easier, to understand, and then you can see that, they actually go for, over a specific range of value.
Okay. So I think in fairness, I'm going to turn this over to the audience and see if they have any questions because I've asked you like a million of them already.
So
But
it's a shame that said that you registered 105 numeric
oh, did
domains
you see that in
yesterday.
the chat? Yeah. Let me see. Hang on. Let me go over here. Anyone who wants to ask a question, let me know. Oh, I forgot. I plugged in the mouse so that I can unmute you. Well, I can
Can I
try. Oh, go
can
ahead,
I ask
Giuseppe.
can I ask one question to Shane? Can I ask which domains he registered yesterday? I'm just curious.
Let's see. Shane, are you able to get on with us? Do this to talk with us?
Yes, I can hear you,
Okay, there
and
you
I
go.
think I'm. Well, I noticed a trend. I was digging through name bio for some numeric sales, and I noticed that the 5 numbers doing great, and then I was like, all right, let's see what's left of the 6 numbers. So I took a look, and I noticed um, things with triple repeating numbers like 111 whatever.com have gone for up to $2,000. And I thought that was rather interesting. So I looked for combinations, found ones with double 2828s and double 3838s, and then ran that through a program, and it spit out a list of available ones, and I just registered them all. Everything that was remaining I grabbed because I know today, worst case, they're worth $50 a domain, and I paid $8 a domain. So, worst case, I still make 5 times my investment.
I want 1 year from now, and let's see like where the. I'm very curious. Like, let's see what that's gonna fare.
Yes, I mean, it's a slight bet, but what are you going to do? That's half a domaining.
Well,
No,
you know,
it's a calculated risk, so I love it. I mean, I think it's a very good approach. It was
yeah.
very systematic, and it's good.
Yeah, and at least you have those patterns in there. And I'll tell you this, Shane, I had 2 6number.com domains in my portfolio, and it was getting time for them to expire. I put them up on NamePros, and I made $40 for one and $80 for the other. And
That's not bad.
so, I mean, hey, that paid for some other domains to be renewed. So in the end, it worked out. And so I guess I could see it being a possibility.
Even if they're only $100 a pop, that's still, $10,500.
Yeah, yeah, that's true. Okay, so did you have any questions for Giuseppe while I have you unmuted? Shane?
Also that, Mark.
I'm sorry, what was that?
Oh, I'm sorry. Let me unmute Mr. Detmar. Oh, I can't. He's on the phone. I think that you're muted on your phone, Detmar. And you might have to take your mute off so that we can hear you. Let's see. And Shane, did you have another question while you were still on? Or did you have a question?
No, it's all right.
Okay. Anyone else have a question? I'll go in through here and I'll try. If you're on the phone, I'm sorry, I'm not going to be able to unmute you. You'll have to do that on your end. Let's see. Everyone else, though, who's using their computer, I'll be able to unmute them and they can tell me if they have a question.
Can you hear me?
Yes, who am I speaking with?
This is Daniel.
Daniel. Hey there, Daniel. How you doing?
Yeah, pretty good. How are you?
Great. Thanks for joining us. You have a question for Giuseppe?
Yeah, I was just wondering. I know there's a lot of Chinese marketplaces out there, but when I try to visit them, I mean, it all looks like gibberish to me. Like it's hard to read it. Do you know maybe if there's anybody that could really go through that process for you and list it on those marketplaces to give you the best exposure for those liquid domains?
I think that there's like an English version on some of these marketplaces. Probably like that's like the best bet. But I think like it also depends on pricing, because I can tell you something that most of like US and European investors, they use the traditional kind of model of domaining where they price the domain, let's say at least like 30-40% higher than what they want to sell it for, and they kind of think that there's like a negotiation room, because they use like to end user sales. For numerics, there's not really those end user sales, so you kind of have to price them closer to how much you want to sell them for. So probably for that reason, I don't know. Like if you list them on the marketplace, you probably will not get like the maximum exposure. But yeah, I think like for example, the easiest thing is just use Google Translate and you try to list them there.
Yeah, I think there is a button up there where you can translate the whole page, right?
Yes, usually.
I think it would be pretty cool if somebody maybe even made a service where they would basically tell you, oh, I'll give you the best exposure possible and list it on all the Chinese marketplaces.
Yeah, but then I don't know. Like I think it's also contractually. I don't know how would it work, because if you list a byte now price, then and then somebody agrees, it's a bit, I don't know. But maybe it's a good idea. Maybe there is like a business idea here.
Maybe.
Okay, let's see. Does anyone else have a question? Someone might be typing a question because I hear some keys rattling there. Let's see what that. Okay, so what was that, Shane? So my 60-character domain isn't worth anything?
It might be for the right user. Might have.
Oh, okay. And I think what Dietmar has a question. And we can't hear you because, let me see. Oh, there we are. Now we should be able to.
I have a question regarding the new laws what are coming out in China. How will this affect the general business in the future?
I mean, yes, this is like something that a lot of times like I get asked this question is like, what do you think about the future value will continue to go up because it's been crazy. It's been crazy like so far like over the last year. And yes, they basically say that in China there's going to be like tighter regulation for the control of domain names. I don't think that is going to be like the biggest issue. Probably like the worst one thing, and I hope this not happen, but like one bad thing that could happen is actually that the government start to pick more on taxation in China, because as of now, like there's no taxes paid on domain names. And it's a great way like to put money outside of China, and like you can put domain under privacy and just cash it out later. Now it's becoming pretty big. You could see like some website, they're allowing buyers to buy just a share of a domain, almost as like a stock. So this is very interesting, and it's becoming very big. So I think the government like starts to pick up on that, and they're going to enforce taxation. That probably is going to affect the demand a little bit. So this is something I would be concerned about. Another thing they've been talking about is, this has been talking for like a long time in China, to actually create a LAN, like a local area network, where only the websites that are like whitelisted could be accessed. If this happens, I don't know how they're going to be like the result on domain names, on domain names just like as a trading item. This is what I'm not sure about. These are the two things I will be looking at. Also, besides for like laws and regulation, one thing I will look at it's just like the economy in China. So that's like the driving factor. As of now, like the stock market in China has been going for like almost 3 years, like growing, and I don't know until this is gonna last. When that happens, then probably can have like a negative effect.
Okay, thanks.
Hey, welcome.
Thanks for joining us, Denmark.
How's it going in Valencia?
Thank you, Angela, for holding these webinars. You are doing a great job.
Thank you. I appreciate that. It's really been great fun. I really love doing this. Does anyone else have any questions? Okay, so I am thinking, since things are quiet right now, that we're done. Giuseppe, I really appreciate you coming on to chat with us. We've definitely got a lot of good information. I'm going to take some time to get this video rendered and posted, and I will try to also post a chart
Okay.
with it. We'll see. I'll send you an email to see if I can get that information, and I'll try to put a chart with this too. But I appreciate your time. I'm sure everyone else who's here appreciates it too, and I hope that you'll consider coming back to chat with me again soon.
Absolutely. It was a great pleasure speaking with you, and like to be Dietmar and Shane and everybody connected, also Daniel.
Awesome.